Welcome back to Afternoon Live. Whether you're relocating for work or to be closer to your family, moving can be a hard transition, both for kids and adults. Here with tips on how to make it easier, we welcome back psychologist Dr. Leah Katz. It's great to see you.
It's so good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about why this topic is so important, because you're moving.
Yeah, we're moving in August. We made the hard decision and we're going for it. Yeah.
We're going to miss you a lot.
I'm going to miss coming in so much.
We're going to still see you on Zoom, I think, because we can't let you go.
Well, I hope so. I can't let you go.
So let's talk about your family's decision, because I think a lot of people can relate. How did you find this? With this way forward with your family?
Yeah, it was something that we were pondering for a while. Our family moved away from this area, which is just sort of what got the thought going. And we sat with it for a little while, and we decided as a family, it was just the best thing for us to be closer to our family, and we're going for it. And and our kids are getting older, and so we just thought we'd get them situated before they get even older.
Right.
I know.
And they still have time to establish all new things
exactly
in this new environment.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about some of the basics. That moving really is one of the most stressful things that we can go through. Why is it so hard?
Yeah, and it's interesting because moving is, when researchers look at the top stressors we can ever experience in life, moving is like right up there in the top 3 stressors we can ever experience. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, because us humans like predictability. We don't like change. Change is stressful. It's anxiety provoking. And if you think about all the change that happens in a very short, condensed period of time when you move, it can be really overwhelming and causing all that stress.
And you have to kind of let yourself feel those feelings, right? The good and the bad.
Yeah, it's so important. I'm finding myself going through this and really trying to make a point of practicing what I preach and really processing my own feelings, because it's easy to jump over them, or easy to just, especially with moving, it's just so busy. There's so many things to get busy with that we could really ignore the emotional side of things. And it's just so important to what you just said, both the hard stuff and also making sure we don't get too caught up in all the hard stuff and the stress, and make a point of getting excited and seeing it through the lens of adventure and all of that good stuff.
Transition isn't easy, but it can be an adventure, and you know that you're doing it for a good reason.
Exactly.
Do you have to kind of just keep reminding yourself of there is an end in sight, and or kind of the reason that you're doing this in the first place?
Exactly. I think both of those things are so important. When we go through something stressful, no matter what it is, knowing that there's an end date really helps us get through it. It's not going to persist forever. And when you start to feel anxious and get overwhelmed or second guess yourself, reminding yourself of why you're doing it, what's the purpose, what's the meaning, what was the original intent, can just really be very grounding.
Let's talk about the kids.
Yeah.
No matter what the age, they can have kind of different challenges, but you know that it is going to be challenging.
Yeah.
What's kind of a baseline of things to be checking in with them about?
Yeah, I think that it mirrors the processing that we want to do on our own. So making sure that we're having those important conversations with them. How are you feeling? Tell me the hard things that you're feeling. Tell me the exciting things that you're feeling, making sure that they're processing. And I think that for those of us that have teenagers who might not be as inclined to open up to parents necessarily, making sure that they have a healthy outlet to process. So if there's a counselor or a therapist or a good friend, or just even buying them a journal, making sure that they're doing the checking in with themselves, whether or not it's with you. Yeah.
It's okay if it's not you.
Yeah.
As long as they have a healthy outlet.
Exactly.
Which can be tough for parents to accept.
Yeah, it can be. And I think that that's part of the transition in parenting older kids is our relationship shifts, and it's actually really healthy and developmentally appropriate for kids to pull back and want other people to process with. So validating that, normalizing that, encouraging that can be so good for them.
Yeah. Let's talk about if you have kids who are really just railing against, kicking and screaming, I don't want to go. How do you handle just so much negativity from their experience?
Always start with empathy and compassion. I see you, I hear you, I get you. Maybe sharing some of your own feelings around it. This is hard for me too. So that finding that balance, it's not about you, but sharing some of your own internal experiences with your kids can be really validating. And I think this is a really big one. When we're feeling really overwhelmed and stressed, finding what we can control can be a really, really good way of coping. So if there's something that you can help your child find some control around, that can be really useful. So let's plan how your room's gonna look like together, or let's take a look at after school activities that you might be interested in. So helping empathy and compassion and helping navigate the conversation towards more like control-based conversations can be really helpful.
And helping them maintain connections to whatever they're leaving behind. You as a parent can really facilitate that.
Exactly. And I think some of the kicking and screaming is anxiety. You know, oftentimes like those externalized hard behaviors is anxiety in children. And so getting at the bottom of it, what are you feeling worried about and how can I reassure you? Are you worried about losing your best friend? You're not going to be close to them anymore. Okay, let me call the mom and figure out how we can stay connected and how we can get you guys still FaceTiming or maybe doing an online game together or something like that.
You kind of mentioned, I mean, whether you're the parent or the kid, the big picture of it is just so overwhelming.
Yeah.
Taking little bite-sized things, what's one thing I can tackle today?
Exactly. Like that's always, I think, the rule of thumb when we're dealing with anything big and overwhelming is to not get lost in the big picture. It's so easy to get lost in the big picture. The question I really love is coming back to what's the next thing I need to do? The very next thing. And sometimes it's not related to the move or the big thing you're dealing with. It's, I need water, I'm so thirsty.
Right.
Yeah.
And we as parents and caregivers, we need to lean on our social supports too when we need extra help.
Right, exactly. That's one way that we need to take care of ourselves. Is it's okay to ask for help. It's important to process with your friends or find people to talk about with and try and take really good care of yourself, because when we're busy, as I'm sure we both know, self-care can be one of the first things to go out of the window and we're just like, I don't have time for that. But it's in those moments when you feel like you don't have time for it that it becomes that much more important.
And then when you're not your best self, you're not there for all the people who need you as well.
Exactly.
We're going to miss you, but we're going to see you.
Yes.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Next adventure.
Thank you.
Thank you for stopping by.
Of course.
We will have more information on our website at katu.com.